Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Family. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, guys? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today we're talking about 4 ways to connect with your kids.
All right, let's go.
What's up, guys? My name is Seth. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
My name is Melanie Studley. I'm his wife, and I'm a high-performance marriage coach, and we have been married for 16 years. We've got 3 kiddos, and the reason that we created Anatomy of Family was because we found that it's very hard to find helpful, useful family tools that work, and so we wanted to create them, and that's really the whole story.
That's right. So in Anatomy of Family podcast, we're going to talk about parenting tips, communication with your kids, connecting with your kids, and everything it means to be a parent in a crazy bonkers world where there's screens everywhere and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And today we're going to talk about 4 ways to connect with your kids. Number 1, get on their level, literally. Number 2, listen. Number 3, invite curiosity. Number 4, say yes. So let's dive right into get on their level.
Yes.
Get on their level. Literally. Now, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've done play therapy and a lot of family therapy before. And one of the quickest ways to connect with your kids, because probably you're taller than your kid, right? Literally, get on their level and look them in the eye when you're talking to them. You're not talking down to them. You're not talking sideways to them. You're meeting them face to face. So you have eye contact, right? And in that, get on their level, you're going to try to either match what they're bringing or mirror the behavior that you want, right? So if your kid is tripping out, screaming, yelling, you're going to get on their level. You're going to speak in a kind voice and be directive. Hey, this is what we do. We're not doing that right now. And this is the way to go, right? So number 1, get on their level. And what that does for your kid, it brings their cortisol levels down, brings their heart rate down. It goes, okay, mom's on my level. I can see her. Dad's on my level. I can see him. They want to talk with me. They want to connect with me in this way.
Right. And I think think about it, imagining like a big monster or a dictator, someone who's bigger and like scarier, and they have all the rules. They like it's unfair how kids are sized compared to us. So it really is a helpful tool. Like literally bend your knees, crunch down, and talk to them at eye level. That's a hugely important thing.
Yeah.
And it's a way to feel your children will feel more connected and you'll feel more connected to them.
Right. And it's more inviting. It's not just like a top down, dad says it because I said so.
Right.
This is my way, the highway. You're getting down. So, okay, we can have a as logical as possible conversation with your kid.
Right.
So number 2, this is a good one. Go for it.
Number 2 is listen. Or as our producer said, just shut up for a minute, which made me laugh.
Shut your mouth and let your kid talk. Right.
So a lot of times as parents, we feel like it is our job to teach constantly. Everything's got to be
which it is.
Right. But we feel like everything has to be like, oh, well, this is this because of that. And you should know this and blah, blah, blah. And we're just like battering ram talking and blah all the time to our kids. And we don't allow them to just talk to us. And that's hard to say because our kids do nothing but talk, but it does a lot. It helps a lot to just zip it and let your kid talk to you. Even if they're gibberish, doesn't mean anything. It's 1,000 different ideas. Just let them talk. Let them process. Because imagine how it would feel if you had a bigger version of a human not allowing you to process things and share.
That brings frustration. That feels like my views or even feelings aren't important.
Don't matter.
A lot of times we can grow up and go, oh man, my thoughts and feelings were dismissed as I was growing up, and that doesn't feel good. Oftentimes we say more is caught than taught, right? Notice, I didn't say anything about listening or hearing. It's based on actions. More is caught than taught. And when we're just trying to constantly teach our kids, there's a great line in a song by one of my favorite bands, Pedro the Lion. He says, the more you tell the kids to do the chores, the more you run the risk of being ignored, right? So if you're always doing the talking, and I'm guilty of this because one of our kids just like, Dad, you don't have to tell me every time. But I'm like, yeah, we got to get it done with this and this.
Right.
Okay. So now I run the risk of being ignored, right? So what do I want to do? I want to model that behavior because more is caught than taught. Remember that.
Right. So again, this is just listen to your kid. Let them talk to you. Let them say what they think. And you don't need to micromanage. You don't need to correct. Just let them talk. Just
Let
shut
'em
up
talk.
for a minute.
Right.
Number 3 is invite curiosity. This is one of the things that I think a lot of parents lose because we're busy being in parenting mode. We're like, well, the laundry's got to get done, the chores have to get done, school's got to get done, blah blah blah, and we turn on this like hyper production, like productivity based, achievements based thing, and we sort of stifle curiosity from both ends. Like we stifle our children's like kind of, they have this innate ability to kind of daydream and let things kind of go everywhere, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And as adults, we usually shut that off because
We
it's
lose that,
childish.
right.
We think, oh, it's childish. We don't need to, we got to get the pay our bills, blah, blah, blah. But one of the most kind of bonding things that you can do with your kids is just sit there and invite curious thoughts and ideas about whatever you're looking at. So literally something as simple as, you know, maybe my kid and I are playing with Legos and we think, what if, what is the guy's Lego name? It starts with an E.
Emmett.
Emmett. What if Emmett could see? How big would the bed look if Emmett could see? Like, what if Emmett and Wild Styles are
Right.
talking about this? Like, how would they feel? Or do you think Emmett would be afraid of us? Like, invite curiosity, right? And that could be anything of, you actually don't, as a parent, you don't really know what your kid is feeling. You think you know, you think you can read them. And we often do this where we project onto them what we believe they're feeling. What if we invited curiosity into just that element instead of saying, well, I know you're mad at me. What if we said, are you feeling okay? How are you feeling? Invite a curiousness, a curiosity that will encourage them to then think more sort of in depth about what they're feeling and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So in that, a cool intervention that we like to do as parents is, okay, take a minute to slow yourself down, right? We come home, there's supper to be made, there's chores, there's crap to clean up, all this stuff. So you are just by proxy, you're edging out any chance for curiosity because you're so
focused,
task driven, right? And so we have a beautiful property here outside of Seattle, and we have big woods, right? And if I was just looking at the treetops all the time, like, oh, everything's green, and I never go down and go, oh, what about all these, 100 different species of mushroom, or like this cool rotten log with a beetle on it or something, or like there's about 20 different species of trees, right?
Yeah.
So don't miss the forest, and all its intricacies for the trees, right? And oftentimes we do that because we get caught up. So parents, I want you to go, okay, how can I calm myself through box breathing or just taking a second? I have an Apple Watch that has the breath app on it, which is so freaking helpful. And get curious. That's even a tenet that we use in therapy all the time. It's like, be curious about who is talking. Oh, tell me more about that. What was that experience like? Be curious and don't just rush to conclusions, or just because guess what? Your kids grow up and you're like, oh, geez, kind of lost touch with my kids. And that sucks, right?
Right.
So, okay, number 4. And this one is huge. And this is one of our favorite guys, your boyfriend, Dr. Dan Siegel. He talks about it, right?
He's my he doesn't know he's my boyfriend.
I think you've probably told him. But if you saw him, you would, right? But
I've seen him twice.
There is a power in saying yes, right? And so this ties into number 3. If we're just always focus driven and stuff like this, we're saying, no, you can't play. No, put that down. Mom, can I help you, cook? No, can't.
Right.
So over time, they're going to just not ask stuff, right? So I want you to change your mind, change your thinking around, what if I said yes? Yeah, you can vacuum. Yeah,
right.
Come stir the eggs with me or whatever.
Right. And it's this idea of the yes brain child. So there's a book called The Yes Brain that Dr. Dan Siegel wrote. And so we're not saying say yes to everything, but don't
Can
I
say
play
yes
with
to,
all the matches? No,
right?
You may
or
not.
A Snickers bar at 10 p.m. No, don't say yes to that.
So we're not saying that, but there is a way to, without saying, I mean, you say no to this thing, you're saying yes to these other things. So let me give an example.
Right.
Like your kid might want to eat Halloween candy at midnight. And you're like, no, it's a Wednesday. You've got school tomorrow. Like, we can't, no Halloween candy, whatever. And instead of just being like, no, you dummy, like, why would you want cavities? Like, which loads of parents talk to their kids like that. Instead of that, no, that like shut down thing, you can say, oh man, that sounds so fun. I know that you want to do that. We can't do that tonight, but yes, we can put some candy in your lunch for tomorrow when you're at school.
Right.
That will be exciting. So figure out ways. When you say no to one thing, say yes to something else. So Maybe another thing is, no, you can't take the cat to school with you today. But yes, you can have a picnic with the cat when you get home.
Right.
And I'll set out the cat food or whatever, right? There's ways to reframe no with a yes, just a different yes, right?
And then let me turn that around. When you say yes to sitting down and playing Legos with your daughter, when she asks you, guess what? You're saying no to not a relationship that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? So you're saying no to less connection 2-3 weeks from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. So saying yes to this, yeah, I'll have that picnic with you. Okay. You're saying yes to inviting more conversations. You're saying no to them isolating themselves and turning into like a grumpy teenager that stays in their room all day.
Right.
You're saying yes to relationships. You're saying no to, man,
that
I wish I'd have done that
detachment
differently.
and yeah, that's a really great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the reason that we wanted to do this particular episode for our first Anatomy of Family episode is that we found that a lot of parents really struggle to connect with their kids. There's so many devices. There's TV, there's YouTube, there's your Switch, there's your iPad, there's the phone. There's just 1,000 million things that are taking our kids' attention away from us and our attention away from them, that when we are together, we actually don't know how to connect anymore. It's sort of a lost art because there's so many ways to disconnect.
Right.
And so we really wanted to get practical and just be like, here's 4 ways to do this. It's super easy, no big deal, no big thing, and make it doable for you guys. So again, number 1, get on your kid's level. Even if your kid is 10 and you're just a little bit taller than them, sit in a chair when you talk to them. Sit next to them on a stool. If your kid is 3, bend down, get on the floor and talk to them. Really empathize with them. Get on their level, right?
Right. Number 2, listen. Be quiet. Listen. Just listen, right? Nod your head. Give them signals that they know that you are listening, right?
Yes.
And then that goes into number 3, invite curiosity. You're listening, you're asking questions, and then you're waiting and pausing to hear their genius answer back. And when I say genius answer, I mean like something funny, like, hey, why did you put Play-Doh on the ceiling? You know what? I was playing this awesome game, and those were purple clouds because the purple clouds shoot lasers, and then I had to win this guy. You're like, what?
Why did you put Play-Doh on the ceiling?
Yeah, it's
really
stuff
funny.
like that. But it's a conversation. It's not turning it into something all
Right.
crazy, right? And then number 4, say yes, because whenever we say yes to something good, we're saying no to something disconnecting, something negative, something that won't bring that connection and feel good things that you want as a parent, and of course the kids want that too.
Right, absolutely. So we hope that this has been a helpful episode. We wanted to let you know that we're also accepting your questions, so you can send them in to hello@Anatomy of Family to get your questions answered on the show. And we are really excited. This is just our first sort of mini episode of the year.
That's right.
And we plan on talking about everything. So if you've got a question about blended families, getting pregnant, if you've got a question about like we do have 2 other shows, as I say, Sex and Intimacy, but that can go on Anatomy of Sex. You can watch it on that. But we're going to be answering your questions about all things parenting, sharing our journey with all things parenting.
That's right.
Because we've got a lot to share that we've been sort of bottling up for this year.
That's
so
right.
We're super jazzed.
Different guest appearances, even our own kids on the show, which is really fun because we get their perspective, right? Have your kids listen to the show and send in their questions. I wish my mom knew this. I wish my dad knew this.
That's such a good idea.
Right?
Have kids
So,
send in your questions.
Have your kids do that. Email us at hello@anatomyoffamily.com and we will answer your questions. So thank you guys. Remember to subscribe to anything that we do, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, for more very content-oriented, action-driven oriented interventions. So, all right, guys.
All right. We love you guys. Have an
All right.
amazing day.
Bye.
Bye.